The journey begins not with glory, but with silence. The ship rocks on the Black Sea, carrying crates of bandages, barrels of wine for antiseptic, and a handful of women who thought they were coming to heal, not to witness the collapse of civilization. You stand among them, your hands wrapped in worn gloves, your heart somewhere between fear and pride. When the ship docks near Scutari, the first thing that hits you is the smell. It's not the sea anymore. It's decay. The air carries a thick metallic stench, a mix of mud, blood, and rotting canvas. The hospital is a former barracks, overcrowded and echoing with cries. There's no order, no structure, only survival. You were told you'd be part of Florence Nightingale's mission: clean halls, proper treatment, discipline. But what you see is chaos. The corridors are slick with dirty water. Rats run between the beds. Soldiers lie in rows so close together their wounds touch. The light comes only from oil lamps, dim and trembling, painting the walls in flickering amber and shadow. You unpack your supplies, or what's left of them. 2 buckets, a few rags, a dull scalpel, and soap that melts faster than it cleans. There are no antiseptics, no anesthesia, and no rest. Every breath feels like a choice between fainting or pressing on. The cries are constant. One man prays, another curses God, and a third simply stares, unblinking as if he's already halfway to death. You move from bed to bed, not yet numb, still feeling each touch as a wound of your own. You whisper small comforts that vanish in the noise. Hold on. You're not alone. I'm here. Your shift never ends. When you try to rest, cannon fire shakes the windows. The war outside bleeds into the one inside. You realize that this place isn't a hospital. It's a battlefield of another kind, one that demands its soldiers stay standing no matter how tired they are. You start to notice small things that keep you from breaking. A letter found under a pillow, a soldier sharing his last biscuit with another, the faint sound of waves outside. Hope is microscopic here, but it exists. It hides in those fragile gestures, and you cling to them because they are all that separate you from despair. At night, the lanterns go out one by one, leaving only the sound of labored breathing and the wind slipping through cracks in the stone. You sit by a window, hands trembling, eyes burning. You think of home, the smell of rain on grass, your mother's hands, the sound of church bells on Sunday. And then you remind yourself why you came: to heal. But healing, you begin to understand, has nothing to do with clean bandages or boiling water. Healing here is staying human in a place determined to strip that from you. Outside, a gunshot echoes across the valley. Inside, you pick up another cloth, dip it into lukewarm water, and move toward another bed. The work doesn't end. Neither does the war. And as dawn breaks through the dirty glass, you finally see it, the faintest light touching the wounded faces around you. It's not mercy. It's not victory. It's simply another day survived. Days melt into one another until time loses meaning. You stop counting hours. You count survivors. The tents are always full, and the beds never empty. You move between them like a shadow, guided by habit rather than hope. You have learned the rhythm of suffering, the sharp breath before a scream, the way the body stiffens before death. At first you prayed for strength. Now you simply work until your hands stop trembling. The smell of carbolic acid and decay clings to your skin, no matter how hard you wash. Florence walks through the ward at night, her lamp floating like a ghost through the dark. Her voice is calm, steady, an anchor in a sea of despair. You envy her composure, but also draw from it. Every nurse has a role. One cleans wounds, another writes the names of the dead. You record them all, even when you can't spell them. No one should vanish without a trace. Sometimes between shifts, you sit outside the hospital. The air is cold but clean, untouched by blood or smoke. You stare at the distant hills where flashes of cannon fire mark the front line. You wonder how many men you will see from those flashes by tomorrow. Fatigue becomes a kind of religion. You don't feel hunger, only the constant ache in your spine and wrists. You fall asleep sitting up, dreaming of silence, and wake to the sound of stretchers scraping stone. But in this monotony of pain, there are moments that hold you together. A soldier whispering thank you, another giving you a broken button as a token of luck, a faint smile from someone you thought would not survive the night. The war outside seems endless, but here, inside this narrow world of bandages and lanterns, you've created a fragile order. You no longer fight the horror, you work within it. The nightmare has rules now, and you follow them because it's the only way to stay sane. And when dawn arrives again, washing the sky in dull grey, you tie your apron tighter, pick up the next tray of instruments, and step once more into the noise. Because in this place, to stop moving is to die. The guns fall silent, but the silence feels wrong. You expect to hear the familiar thunder, the sound that had become the heartbeat of your existence, but it never comes. The soldiers outside say the war is ending. You don't cheer. You can't. The word peace feels like something that belongs to another language. Inside the hospital, the air has changed. The scent of blood and smoke still lingers, but beneath it lies something new. Stillness. You walk between the rows of beds, and for the first time, there are more empty ones than occupied. You should feel relief, but instead, an emptiness seeps in, slow and heavy, like water into stone. The men who survived are not whole. Some have no legs, others no memory. You dress wounds that will never heal, write names that will never be spoken again. When one of them looks at you with gratitude, you turn away. You've forgotten how to meet a gaze that isn't pleading for help. Florence leaves for England with honours and titles. You stay behind to pack supplies, to wash the last linens, to clear the final rooms. The walls seem to whisper. Each stain, each shadow, carries the echo of someone who once lived here for a moment before vanishing. When you finally walk out into the open air, the world feels too large. The hills are green again, the sky blue, the sea glistening as if it has never known the bodies it swallowed. Birds sing above the ruins of the camp, and you almost hate them for it. How dare they sound so alive? You take a small notebook from your pocket, the one you use to record names, symptoms, last words. The pages are smudged and brittle. You flip through them, stopping at one you barely remember writing. He said, "Thank you," died before I could ask his name. You close the book. For the first time, you realize that this, not medals, not orders, not speeches, is your legacy. The fragments of humanity you preserved in a world determined to destroy it. Back home, no one will understand. They will speak of the war in numbers, victories, and strategies. You will remember it in faces, faces that appear in your dreams, lit by the trembling glow of lanterns. You'll wake to the sound of waves and still hear the moans of the dying. Some nights you'll light a candle, not for prayer, but to feel that you are not entirely lost to the darkness. Years pass, but the war doesn't fade. It hides beneath your skin, stitched into every heartbeat. The smell of soap, the sight of red fabric, even the rustle of rain, they all drag you back to that
the sea. You learn to live with it the way a soldier learns to live with a scar. You never married. You never had children. You stayed in the city, working in small hospitals, teaching young girls how to clean wounds, how to care, how to endure. They look at you with admiration, calling you brave. You smile, but inside you think, no, not brave, just someone who refused to turn away. On your final night, you
dream of the sea again. The waves whisper, soft and familiar, like voices you once knew. The faces return, not crying, not broken, just quiet, waiting. You walk among them, lantern in hand, and this time there's no blood, no pain, only peace. The light fades, and you understand. The war never truly ended. It simply moved inside you. And yet, in that darkness, you carried something precious. The proof that even in hell, there were still those who chose to heal.